Hey guys, what's going on? I just want to kind of talk through what we should get going on today, or what we've got going on today, because I'm not here. So I'm gonna walk you guys through what's gonna happen, just in case you need any help with anything. What we're actually doing today is taking the data that hopefully we got collected in our lab from yesterday, and then putting it into Excel, making graphs out of it, and then kind of checking out those graphs and seeing what's going on. So that's the plan. Let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see what we're doing here. Get out of this. First thing we're going to do, right, we're going to go and open up an Excel document. So I'm just going to search for Excel down in this bottom search bar right here. It should pop up. You can open that up. I've already got one open. And then open up a blank document so that you have a blank sheet to work in here. Like I said, I've got one open already because I collected some data. So here's mine. If you did not get all the data yesterday, or you didn't like your data, or something, you didn't quite think all your data was good enough, you can totally use mine. So I did the experiments last night. You can see the up the ramps were harder than the down the ramps. So we'll have to see what we get when we look at these up the ramp ones, just because, like I said, they're a little bit more difficult. So we're for sure going to check out down the ramps from 120 and from 0. And we'll see if the 120 or up the ramps work. I'm not sure if they're going to. But like I said, if you've got data already, good. It should be in your lab notebook. Get it into Excel. If you don't have good data, you're not confident in your data, good, copy mine into Excel. All right, so first thing we're going to do is take the data from our notebooks from our lab from yesterday and get that into Excel. And like I said, if you don't really like yours, or you'd rather use mine, you can use the data that I collected last night. All right, so you guys can pause the video, take a second, get your data in there. I'm just going to keep rolling. So after you've got your data into Excel, we want to take the data and we want to turn it into some graphs. So we're going to make some position time graphs. So for those of you that don't remember, to make a position time graph, or a graph in general, we're going to highlight the data, right? Just the numbers. We don't need to get time in there. We don't need to get position in there. We're just going to highlight the numbers. We're going to go up to insert. And then in the charts category, this last one in the bottom middle, it says, if you hover over it, insert scatter chart or bubble chart. And we're going to pick that first one right there. And there is my first chart. I'm going to slide it down underneath here so I can look at it a little bit better. So this is my chart for going down the ramp. Now, like every time we insert a chart here, it doesn't always come with all the right stuff. So we're going to have to edit our chart a little bit to make it a little bit more accurate. So instead of saying chart title, I want to rename this position versus time graph. And this one was for down the ramp from 120. So down from 120, just so I know what that graph is showing. All right, and there's my graph. We can add we should add other things to it. So to add to the graph, you can click on it, and sometimes a little plus button comes up right here, and you can add from there. If the plus button doesn't come up, we can go up to the top and click on design. And then on the very left side of design, it says add chart elements. We can add chart elements from here. So I want axis titles. I want the primary horizontal and the primary vertical. So I can add axis titles in there. I'll come down here. This should be time. Time should be on our X axis. And this should be position. Now, for our last couple graphs, right, what we would do at this point is go ahead and put a trend line on there and see if we can figure out the slope of the line. This one, we're not going to put a trend line on, because if we can see the shape, it's not a line, right? It looks like a curve. So we've got something different going on here that we'll have to talk about when I come back next class, or maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later in this video. We'll see. It depends on how far I get. But we're not going to put a trend line on this one, because we can see it's not a line. It's definitely a curve as opposed to a straight line. So we'll have to talk about that in a second. All right, so there is our position versus time graph for down from 120. I'm going to do the same thing for down the ramp from 0, right? I want to insert a graph. So I'm going to highlight my numbers. I'm going to go up to the top to insert, over to the middle to charts, and insert a scatter chart. So there's my second graph. Oops, I just grabbed the title. My face just disappeared. Where'd my face go? Oh, there it is. All right. I hope the video didn't cut out right there. Who knows? So there's my second graph, right? I highlighted the position, just the numbers, highlight the times, highlight the positions, up to the top to insert, over to the middle, charts, and then insert this scatter chart, right? It's in the bottom middle. We get the same kind of thing going on, right? We have an incorrect title and we don't have axis titles. This is what I was talking about with the little plus button. So I'll show you how to do that in a second, but let's change this chart title to position versus time graph. This is down from 0. There's that. Okay. Move that back to the middle. Now I want to, again, add axis titles so that I know position is on the y-axis and time is on the x-axis. This time, my little plus button popped up, so I don't have to go up to design and go to the left side. I can just go click on here, plus button, and click the checkbox for axis titles. I want axis titles. So I can come down here and edit these now. This should be time in seconds, and this should be position in meters. So there's that. And again, right, next thing we would do would be to put a trend line on this graph, but you can see, looking at the shape of it, it's not a straight line. So we can't put a trend line on that. It's not a line. So we're gonna have to talk about that. This one we can see is curving down. This one we can see is curving up. So we've got something funky going on here. So let's see if we, same thing, we're gonna make another graph. We're gonna highlight the numbers for up the ramp. These ones, I'm not sure about this, how nice the graph is gonna look. So we might just skip these. We'll have to see what this first one looks like. Highlight the numbers, insert charts, scatter chart. It looks okay. So I'm gonna slide this one down, put it beneath my other chart. This one was up the ramp from 110. So position versus time graph, up the ramp from 110. Let's click on it. All right, so this one again is not giving me the little plus button on the side, which is messed up. So I'm gonna have to go up to the top. My controls disappeared again. I'm gonna have to go up to the top to design. This design, add chart element, and I want both of the axis titles. So I'll check both of those. And again, this bottom axis is time. And the y-axis is position. All right, so there's our third graph. And we can see again, a little bit of a curve right here, right? It's not a straight line. It's a curve going down from the 110. So we'll have to look at that. Oh, now it shows up with the plus button, of course. Cool. Thanks. And now the plus button's stuck on the screen, even better. And last but not least, let's check out this up the ramp from there. This one I got very little data for, so I'm not sure that this one's gonna work. Insert scatter chart. Yeah, that one looks bad. I mean, you can kind of see that it's a little bit of a curve, but if let me move this down so I can look at it. Right, we should have a little curve shape. I mean, it kind of looks like a curve, but it's not a great one. So, I mean, I'll keep it on here, but it's not ideal. So this is position versus time graph, up from 0. Let's edit this a little bit, add some axis titles. There we go. I can get this to say time. I can get this to tape position. All right, so there are my 4 graphs now. If I zoom out, I've got a graph for going down the ramp from 120. I've got a graph going down the ramp from 0. I've got a ramp going up the graph or up the track from 120 or 110. I didn't quite make 120, and up the graph from 0. So why did we pick those 4 motions? Like, what's the point of looking at these graphs? We're not going to get a trend line out of them. So why are we looking at them? The reason I want to look at these is to look at just the shape of the graphs in general, right? We have a downward curve here, which is something that we haven't seen before on a position graph. All our position graphs so far have been straight lines. So why now are we getting a curve on our position graph as opposed to the straight lines that we're getting before? Well, if you remember, straight lines on a position graph meant constant speed, right? Things were moving at constant velocity. If we're looking at our cart rolling down a ramp, is the cart keeping a constant velocity? The answer is no, it's speeding up. So we get a curved line when things are speeding up, right? This is down the ramp from 120. We see the line speeding up. This one down the ramp from 0, we can see the line. This means speeding up. And then we get the opposite when we're going up the ramp, right? When we push our cart up the ramp, we're obviously getting slowing down. Our cart's slowing down. So if we look at these graphs now, this is showing motion of an object that's slowing down. And this is showing an motion of an object that's slowing down. So what I wanted to look at today, and the reason for going through and looking at these graphs is we want to see, okay, what is the shape of a graph for an object that is speeding up? And what is the shape of the graph for an object that's slowing down? And we get 4 different shapes here. Why do we get 4 different shapes? Because we can have 4 different, right? Because for constant motion, right, we had increasing motion, increasing position at constant speed, stopped was a flat line, and then we had decreasing position at constant speed or moving towards the origin at constant speed. So the reason we have 4 in this one is when we're going away from 0, right, down from 0 and up from 0, we're moving away from the origin. So this is speeding up, right, because it's going down the ramp. This is speeding up away from the origin. This one's slowing down, moving away from the origin. So we get speeding up away from the origin and slowing down away from the origin when we're going from 0. And then we get speeding up towards the origin when we're going down from 120 towards 0, and slowing down away from the origin when we're going up from 120. Slowing down towards the origin when we're going up from 120. So we have away from the origin when we're going away from 0, and we have towards the origin when we're going away from 120 towards the 0. So we have 2 different motions for going towards the origin and 2 different motions for going away from the origin. All right. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do now is take this, save it onto your desktop or something. So I'll go File, Save As, Browse. I'll just go to my desktop. I have a lot of stuff, but I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to save it as like accelerated motion position graphs. All right, we're looking at accelerated motion position graphs. I'm going to save that there. And then first thing I want you guys to do is submit that to Schoology. You guys like my profile picture there? If we go to Schoology, don't copy my password. Courses. I'm sending out the same course to all of my physics classes here. So, or same video to all my physics classes. So I'm going to open up the physical science one, but each of you guys should have your own. It should be in all the Schoology pages. I'm going to call this accelerated. Well, actually, we'll call this sub day because this is the folder. 929. So when you go into your Schoology page, you should see a blue folder. It says sub day 929. 929 is today. Open that up. First thing that's going to be here is the video that you're watching right now. I obviously am making the video right now, so I haven't uploaded it. So You guys can't see the video yet, but first thing that'll be there will be the video. Then I'm going to add this assignment, which will be upload your position graphs. We'll make it due today. We'll make it 4 graphs, 10 points each. We're gonna make it like 40 points. Classwork. Create. So you should have just saved your graph to the desktop. Now you can go ahead, open this up, and submit the file straight from your desktop. All right. So that's the first thing we're gonna submit today. Is your position graphs. So you guys can go ahead and do that. You can see it's on my desktop right here, accelerated motion position graphs. All right, so that's our first thing. We want to get the data from our lab notebooks into Excel, right? Like I have, oh, not there, here, right? From lab notebook into Excel. If we don't have good data, you can copy my data. Don't even worry about it. I just use what I've got there. Once we get that data into Excel, we're going to create graphs from that data. Make sure your graphs have a proper title. Make sure they have proper axis titles as well. And then save those and put those into our lab notebooks. Or sorry, don't put them in the lab notebooks. Save it and then upload it to Schoology. All right, that's going to be the one thing that we are submitting today. So the one big thing we're submitting today is these position time graphs onto Schoology. The second thing that I want you guys to do today, and I'm going to stop sharing here and open up a whiteboard, because the second thing I want you guys to do today is add to our graphic organizer of position time graph, velocity time graph, acceleration graph. So if you guys remember, right, we made a table a couple days ago. Hold on, I can do this better. Let's make straight lines. All right, we made a table. I'll make it again really quick. And we had the description. We had the position graph. We had the velocity graph, and we had the acceleration graph. Right, we had a whole bunch of graphs. I'm gonna move this over a little bit. And this over a little bit. All right. So we had, let me change to writing again. Description. We had position versus time graph. And I asked you guys to leave a little bit more space because we are going to add to it. We are now going to add to it. And this one was acceleration graph. We still haven't gotten to the acceleration graphs. So this column will still be right. And I think the first one was like object moving away from the origin at constant speed or something. We had an object moving away from the origin at constant speed. And then we drew the position and velocity graph that went along with that. So position graph looked like this. Velocity graph looked like that or something like that, right? So we had a velocity graph, we had a position graph. We're going to add to this chart now because we've got 4 more charts that we can add in there. We've only looked at the position graph so far, but we're going to go object moving away from the origin and speeding up will be our first one. So let's get that in here. Moving away from the origin and speeding up. So moving away from the origin and speeding up was moving away from 0 down the ramp. So down the ramp from 0. So if we look at our graph and we look at down the ramp from 0, we should see that the graph, the position graph that goes down the ramp from 0, I'm going to change the color here, looked something like that. All right, so first one, down the ramp from 0, we should get a graph that looks kind of like that. Let's do next. Object moving away from the origin, right? Because we said we had 2 for each. And slowing down. So away from the origin and slowing down, that would be from 0 going up the ramp. So what did it look like when we had our object going away from 0 up the ramp? We should have gotten something that looked like this. And this was the graph that didn't look really good on mine, but that's the shape that the graph should have taken. We get an upward curve for an object moving away from the ramp, speeding up. We get a downward facing curve for an object moving away from the origin and slowing down. All right, you'll notice both of these still, right, away from the origin goes up and to the right. Both of these are still going up and to the right, right? We're still moving away from the origin. We're just speeding up or slowing down. Next, we add an object, and I'm probably going to run out of space, but we'll see here. Sorry, that should say towards the origin. We want to do towards the origin now. So we want an object moving toward the origin and speeding up. So moving towards the origin and getting faster. We should have, so this one would be moving towards the origin, would be moving away from 120. So from 120 and getting faster. So down the ramp from 120, down the ramp from 120, we should have gotten a shape that looked like this, a downward facing curve, right? If you recall, object moving towards the origin was like this way. So towards the origin, we can still see that general trend downward, but this time our graph's curved because we're speeding up. And then the last one, we'll see if I can make it fit in the bottom here. Object moving towards the ramp or towards 0, the origin. And slowing down. We should have, let me get rid of this, something that looks like this. All right, so last thing I want us to do today is add these new 1, 2, 3, 4 position graphs to our graphic organizer of position graphs. I will check that tomorrow. Actually, I'll probably have some free time tonight. So I'll check that you guys have these added to your graphic organizer this evening and give you guys some points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's probably worth like 5 points each. So what's 4 times 4? 16. We'll make it even 20. 20 points. I'll check these tonight. And if you've got all of those in your notebook, your lab notebook tonight, that'll be another 20 points. So 60 points for the day, 40 points for getting your Excel graphs turned in on Schoology, and then another 20 points for having these graphs in your graphic organizer. All right. Maybe the sub will know a little bit about Excel. So if you need help, you can ask. If not, good luck. Hopefully I explained everything well enough. You'll be able to figure out what you need to do. So get this into your lab notebook. Get the Excel files uploaded onto Schoology, and that's what we need to do today. All right, so I'm gonna stop this here. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.